I have heard, O fortunate king, that a wealthy merchant who had many dealings throughout the lands rode out one day to settle a matter of business in one of them. When it became hot, he sat down under a tree and put his hand in his saddlebag, from which he took out a piece of bread and a date. He ate, and when he had finished with the date, he threw away its stone, at which a huge ifrit appeared, with a drawn sword in his hand. This ifrit came up to the merchant and said, "Get up, so I can kill you as you killed my son." "How did I kill your son?" asked the merchant. And the ifrit told him, "When you ate that date and threw away the stone, it struck my son in the chest as he was walking, and he died instantly. We belong to God, and to him do we return," recited the merchant, adding, "There is no might and no power except with God, the exalted, the omnipotent. If I killed him, this was by accident, so please forgive me. I must kill you," insisted the ifrit. And he dragged off the merchant, threw him down on the ground, and raised his sword to strike. "I entrust my affair to God." The merchant's eyes were watering. Time is divided into 2 days, one without danger and one with it. Our lives are divided into 2 halves, one with sunshine and the other with clouds. Does time oppose anyone but great men? You should ask people who criticize us for what time has done. The towering trees are the ones that are hit the worst by the storm gods. Aren't you right? Pearls lie hidden in the depth of the water, while corpses come to the top. Time may mislead us, putting us in danger all the time. Even though there are an infinite number of stars in the sky, only the sun and moon are eclipses. You can find both green and dry paths on earth, yet we only throw stones at fruit-bearing ones. You look forward to the times when they are good. Therefore, you shouldn't be afraid of the bad things that happen. Upon completion, the ifrit commanded, "Stop talking, because, by God, I am going to kill you. Let me go home and pay everyone what they owe before I come back to you at the beginning of the new year. I am a wealthy guy with a wife and children. Therefore, I have debts and deposits. In the name of God, I solemnly promise that I will return to you, and you are free to do with me as you like." This is something that God will ensure. He returned home, took care of all his business, and gave everyone what they needed once the ifrit trusted him and let him go. What was on them? He told it to his wife and children what had happened, gave them his injunction, and stayed with them until the end of the year. When he got up, performed the ritual ablution, and with his shirt under his arm, said goodbye to his family and his relations as well as his neighbor, and set off reluctantly. While they all wept and wailed, he came to the orchard on what was New Year's Day. And as he sat there, weeping over his fate, a very old man approached him, leading a gazelle on a chain. The newcomer greeted him and asked him why he was sitting there alone, when the place was a haunt of jinn. The merchant told the story of his encounter with Ifrit, and the old man exclaimed, "By God, brother, you are a very pious man, and your story is so wonderful that were enwritten with needles on the corner of men's eyes. It would be a reason for those who take heed." He took his seat by the merchants and promised not to leave until he had seen what happened to him with the Ifrit. As the two of them sat there talking, the merchant was overcome by the excess of fear together with ever-increasing distress and apprehension. It was at his point that a second old man arrived, having with him two black saluks. After greeting the two men, he asked them why they were sitting in this haunt of jinn, and they told him the story from beginning to end. The sooner he sat down with them, then a third old man with a double mule came up, greeted them, and asked why they were there, at which they repeated the whole story, but there is no point in going over it again. As soon as the newcomer had sat down, a huge dust devil appeared in the middle of the desert. Clearing away the show, the Ifrit waved a drawn sword in his hand and sparks shooting from his eyes. He came up to the tree, dragged the merchant from between them, and said, "Get up, so I can kill you as you killed my beloved son." The merchant sobbed and wept, while the three old men shed tears, wailed, and lamented. Then the first of them, the man with the gazelle, left the others, kissed the Ifrit hand, and said, "Genie, the royal crown of the jinn, if I tell you the story of my connection with this gazelle, will you grant me a third share in this merchant's blood?" The Ifrit agreed to do this if he found the story marvelous, and so the old man began his tale. "Now, Ifrit, that this gazelle is my cousin, my own flesh and blood. I married her when she was still young and stayed with her for 30 years without her bearing me a child. So I took a concubine, and she bore a son, the perfection of whose eyes and eyebrows make him look like the full moon when it appeared. He grew up, and when he was 15, I had occasion to travel to a certain city, taking with me a great quantity of trade goods. My wife, now this gazelle, had studied sorcery since her youth, and she turned the boy into a calf, and his mother into a cow, handling them over the herdsman. When, after a long absence, I got back from my journey, I asked about the two of them, and my wife told me that the woman had died and that the boy had run away. Where she did not know, for a year I remained sad at heart and tearful until Eid al-Adha came round, and I sent to tell the herdsman to bring me a fat cow. What he brought me was my slave girl whom my wife had enchanted. I tucked my clothes, took the knife in my hand, and was about to slaughter her, when she gave cry, hold, and shed tears that astonished me, and feeling pity for her, I left her and told the herdsman to fetch me another. At that my wife called out, "Kill this one, as I have no finer or father cow." I went up again to do the killing, and again the cow gave a cry, at which I told the herdsman to slaughter her and then skin her. He did this only to discover that there was neither flesh nor fat in the carcass, but only skin and bone. I was sorry for what I had done at a time when regret was of no use, and I gave the cow to the herdsman, telling him to bring me a fat calf. He brought me my son, and when this calf caught sight of me, he broke his tether and rolling in the dust in front of me, howling and shedding tears. Again, I felt pity and told the herdsman to leave the calf and fetch me a cow. And again my wife, now this gazelle, called to me, insisting that I must slaughter the calf that day. "This is a noble and blessed day," she pointed out. "The sacrifice must be a good one, and we have nothing farther or finer than this calf. Look at what happened with a cow that you told me to kill. This led to disappointment, and we got no good from it at all, leaving me full of regret at having slaughtered it. This time I'm not going to do what you say or kill this calf. By God the Omnipotent, the Compassionate, the Merciful, you must do this on this noble day. And if you don't, then you are not my husband, and I am not your wife." On hearing these harsh words, but not realizing what she intended to do, I went up to the calf with the knife in my hand. Morning dawned down, and Shahrazad broke off from what she had been allowed to say. What a God, pleasant, delightful, and sweet story this is, exclaimed Dunyazad, at which Shahrazad told her, "How can this compare with what I shall tell you this coming night? If I am still alive and the king spares me, by God," the king said to himself, "I'm not going to kill her until I heard the rest of the story." And so they spent the rest of the time embracing one another until the sun had fully risen. The king then went to his court as the vizier came with the sword under his arm, and he gave his judgments, appointing some official and dismissing others, until evening. But the vizier's great surprise, he gave no instruction about his daughter. The court was then dismissed, and King Shahryar returned to his place.